Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Murray Norton. My guest this evening is probably the most influential figure in the gaming industry. He's the creative genius behind such legendary games as Donkey Kong, Super Mario Bros. And Zelda. Basically, if you've played on Nintendo DS, GameCube, Game Boy Advance, NES or even the old Nintendo 64, this man has been involved in it. Shigeru Miyamoto is the general manager of, officially, Nintendo's Entertainment and Analysis Development Division. But to millions, of course, he's just Mr. Miyamoto. Let's have a look at the great man's work. Well, that gives you some idea of the creative genius that we are dealing with. I'm delighted to say that joining us in the studio is Mr. Miyamoto. Thank you very much for coming along, for giving us some time, and a warm, warm welcome to Europe to you. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Before we start, we've had some 11,000 questions come in before we even go on air. And obviously there are thousands and thousands of people watching all across Europe. You must be delighted with that.
Yeah, I was simply flabbergasted that I was going to receive so many questions, and I really appreciate that a lot of the European people are asking me so many questions.
Now, before we start taking your questions, let me just first of all send out a huge welcome to the tens of thousands of you who sent questions in before we came on air, and the tens of thousands who, of course, are joining us on the show. Because of the demand for today's web chat, there have been a few slight technical alterations, and that has simply meant that you've got a smaller window viewer than you would normally have. That's so that more of you can enjoy the show. Tens of thousands of questions, a lot of them are very, very similar. We can't answer possibly all of those questions in the half an hour we've got, so we've taken a random selection of those questions, and we've added quite a few of the questions that have been duplicated time and time again, so that you can get as many answers out of Mr. Miyamoto as possible. The other thing to let you know is that Mr. Miyamoto can understand everything that I'm saying because his English is very good, but he's much more comfortable speaking in his own native language, Japanese. Therefore, for those who want to follow this in English, there is a translation and a translator's voice that you'll hear over the top of Mr. Miyamoto's. For those that wish to follow it in another language, there'll be a transcript at the bottom of the page. Well, given the time constraints we've got, let's start taking some of those questions immediately. And our first question comes from Andreas in Germany. Thank you for your question. Mr. Miyamoto, Andreas in Germany would like to know, where does your inspiration come from for making such original games?
When I come to think about that, there are many different occasions I could hit upon some great ideas. My way of making games, most often that I try to think about my own hobbies and things that I'm very interested in. Based upon that, I try to construct my game ideas. Or sometimes my boss or President Iwata simply give me the command as to what you need to make. And sometimes I come to think about great ideas just while we were chatting among our friends. So many different occasions.
Our second question is from Leroy, who's in Holland. Hello, Leroy. He wants to know, when you design games, do you come up with a concept and then show your colleagues to come up with further concepts? Or do you prefer to work on them alone and then unveil them to the team?
Our way of making games are just like this, that when I come across something really interesting, then I talk about that with our staff members, and then these staff members are actually making some prototypes or experimental programs. And then we're going to see that, and if we think that it is possible for us to work on that, and then we further discuss about that. And so it's a repetition of making the ideas, making the prototypes, try to test that, and then we are going to, that kind of ideas are going to shape up into the final product.
Well, Leroy, I hope that answers your question. Let's jump back from Holland back to Germany once again. And Matthew's in Germany. He has a question for you, Mr. Miyamoto. You often speak about fun and how a universal thing fun is, that everyone can enjoy. What aspects of video games do you find fun, and what new types of fun do you think people will be having with games in the future?
Well, I myself, the kind of the game player who always want to move my muscles, move my body. So even though that when you are playing with the video games, even though when you are holding the controller with your both hands, I would like to feel that kind of physical feeling through the controller. That's the way how I am making video games myself. So actually, I really want people to feel as if they are, experiencing a lot of the physical, exercises by holding the controller. As you know by now that Nintendo has invented a very unique and unprecedented controller for the Revolution, and then Revolution will be Wi-Fi connected. And looking around outside of the Revolution, there are many other technologies becoming readily available. We have the GPS and we have the satellite. And, we are going to have the PCs and laptops, which are becoming smaller and smaller and cheaper. Altogether, I think they are going to create some new great entertainment.
Well, hopefully that answers your question fully there, and I'm glad that you were talking about Revolution, because our next question is from Carlos in Spain. Carlos, welcome to the show, and thank you very much indeed for your question. Carlos wants to know, as a video game designer, what about Revolution and the Revolution controller excites you most, that you can explore new kinds of games or further expand or enhance franchises like Mario and Zelda?
What we could do as game creators is just to improve the quality of the game contents to be appearing in the game monitors. That's all. However, now that we are creating the Revolution and creating the very unique Revolution controllers, the things are going to be drastically changed. How to play with the video games itself is going to change, and specifically how you are going to face with the ordinary TV set. As you may know by now that the Nintendo is going to integrate the pointing device into the handheld remote controller, so that all you got to do is just to point somewhere on the TV screen and click some buttons and something happens. I think it's similar to how you have already felt about touching the DS panel switch for the first time with your own hands. And now you may opt to choose the separate controllers held in both hands separately. So your hands are now going to be free as ever, and you are going to be engaged in the unprecedented action play style yourself. So that what we can imagine is that even though the game itself can be simple enough, yet it is going to give you the sensationally unique gaming experiences. We are now doing a kind of experiments and making Mario jump simply by pointing him and clicking, just like that. And in case of Zelda, just suppose how fun it will be when you swing the controller, Link will swing his sword, just like that.
Alfonso in Spain, how are companies reacting to the new way Nintendo are planning to design the controller?
These are the people who have already worked on a number of the different video games and has the expertise and experiences in making great games in a variety of different genres. However, they were always confronting with some of the limitations, and majority of the limitation is actually relating to the interface. But now, with the Revolution controller, they are given the opportunity to design what kind of interface they are going to use for themselves. After all, that kind of notion itself has expanded the possibility of making unprecedented games.
Right, let's leave the hardware behind for just a moment and just talk about some of the games themselves. King Cruel, I think we pronounce it right, in the UK, you know who you are. Thank you for your question as well. What about the new Super Mario Brothers compared to the classic games?
Yes, it's going to be actually the Nintendo DS software. When we first introduced the original Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario Brothers 1, I understand that everybody was interested in it, be it the avid gamers or novice players or non-gamers alike. And we really want to create something similar with this new edition of new Super Mario DS. We have some concern that latest edition of the Super Mario series may be too much complicated for the people who are going to touch the Nintendo machine for the very first time. We really want to go back to the basics with this Nintendo DS edition of the new Super Mario Brothers, so that everybody, including the non-gamers and the veteran gamers alike, everybody is going to play and enjoy themselves. That's the concept behind making of the new Super Mario DS. Yeah, having said that, however, of course, Nintendo DS has such a powerful processing power as well as the display capability. We are actually taking the full advantage of these kind of high-tech aspects.
All right, well, I have to say, we've had so many questions about Mario. We're trying to condense them all down here. Thank you very much indeed for joining us wherever you are across Europe. We have Mr. Miyamoto with us, who is the senior manager. He's the general manager across designing and analysing the development of games for Nintendo. We're right the way through some of our questions here, and we're going to Greece next, to Chris, who's in Greece, who wants to talk about Mario as well. He wants to know, do you ever play Mario Kart DS online? And if you do you ever lose?
Yeah, I thought I was fairly a good player when it comes to this Mario Kart DS. Unfortunately, however, as soon as I tried the Wi-Fi connection mode of the Mario Kart, I was very badly defeated, and so that I felt like I would never do that again, unfortunately. I think that I need more exercises before joining the Wi-Fi connection racings once again.
Well, it certainly takes some getting used to, and if you're having trouble, the rest of us certainly are. How is it that Mario is still very, very chubby? Grant in the UK wants to know. He says that Mario is still very, very chubby because he does a lot of sports still. So how is he still so round?
いや、マリオね、結構締まってるんですよ。筋肉質なんですよ。ぽっちゃり見えるけど。で、僕も最近ちょっとウエイトを落としましたし、これからそうですね、もっと絞っていった方がいいですね、マリオも。もっとスポーツやらせましょうか。
The fact of the matter is, yeah, even though he may look like a little bit chubby, yeah, he is kind of masculine guy, yeah, in my own idea. And yeah, come to think about that, I myself is trying to be, Mario, not chubby, but like try to lose my weight even by a little bit, so that I think that Mario can be my role model when it comes to the weight control. But if you think he is chubby, well, what shall we do? Maybe I should let him be engaged in that more sports, right?
Well, I think it's great that we get an insight into your family life as well as into the gaming world as well, Mr. Miyamoto. A question in from Kirby192 in France, who wants to know, will we be able to download items to Animal Crossing Wild World here in Europe?
Yes, actually that back at Nintendo, almost all the development works have been completed about new Animal Crossing DS. And just like in Japan, we have already started doing the downloadable services. I'm sure that you are going to have the similar downloadable items in Europe as well. But unfortunately, as of today, I'm not in a position to tell you exactly what kind of schedule they have in Europe and what kind of downloadable items are there. But please come visit the site, probably this site or Nintendo home websites, and check to see the latest information available. But I'm sure that in summer of this year, you are going to receive some of those services.
So there you have it, Kirby192 in France. Keep checking the downloads. Jeff here in the UK wants to know, Mr. Miyamoto, what is your brain age, firstly? And secondly, what do you think of brain training?
Yeah. Whenever you try out your brain age by brain training for the first time, you are not so good. I'm now 53 years old, and I have to confess that I do not recall how old my brain age was at that time. But after doing a lot of the exercises, I recall that I was as young as 20 years old. After a while, I didn't do the exercises, and immediately I became 24 years or something like that. I need to do the exercise again and again, and sometimes I recall that I wanted to show off my brain age was 20 years, so that I just paused it and put it on sleep mode to show it around to the people around me.
As if you need to show off ever. But, we have Kirsty from Sweden. Hello, Kirsty in Sweden. I hope you're enjoying the show. I really love Nintendogs, says Kirsty. What do you think of it, and why do you think it has been so popular?
the reason why we came up with the idea of the Nintendogs is I have my own pet dog, companion animal. And then I noticed that as soon as I started having my own dog, I noticed that a great many people surrounding me were actually having their own dogs, and they are communicating with each other about so many subjects of the dog. And that was a kind of a surprising experience for me, that noticing that so many people around me were actually talking over their dogs. And I thought that, yeah, maybe it's a great idea for us to deal with the subjects of dogs in a video game. And one other subject, of course, is about the Nintendo DS's functionality. What we really wanted to do with the Nintendogs was to have a very nice and good communications with the puppies. And then we thought the touch panel and microphone shall be the very good functions for us to tackle with, how to enable such kind of unusual communications with the puppies. So I think that, of course, we have to attribute the success to the those kind of unique mechanism incorporated into the Nintendo DS hardware.
I'm delighted that you've got the DS Lite out there, because we've got a question about that from Wong, who's here in the UK. What do you think of the success enjoyed by Nintendo DS Lite in Japan so far?
Yes, this is the Nintendo DS, only available right now in Japan market. As you can see, this is smaller and thinner than the original Nintendo DS and lighter than that. In other words, all in all, we are trying to improve on its portability than even the portable Nintendo DS right now. And the situation in Japan is, once again, that this machine is only available in Japan at this moment in time. And we are now trying to ship as many Nintendo DS Lite into the Japan market as possible for the moment. However, just as we ship the new hardware units to the market, they are actually being snatched by the consumers. So that, the demand there is just growing up, and our supply just cannot catch up with that. That's how the DS Lite is selling in Japan.
Well, that's pretty fantastic. I actually think that I should keep this one in England, so there's one in England as well. But I better hand it back to you. That's great. That's enough about games for the moment. We've got all sorts of questions coming in. I've got one in from Rashduas. I hope I've got your name right there. In the UK, wants to know, newcomer studios Nibris and Crossbeam have recently announced several Nintendo exclusive games that they wish to develop. Do you think such small teams can succeed, and will Nintendo support them?
Well, the fact of the matter in this video game industry is that in order to make one game, we are now required to have a huge team and long time in order to make the games. Or maybe that people are actually misunderstanding that. I mean, the game designers are misunderstanding that, as if we need the great many developers in order to create one single masterpiece. Just an example is the brain training game that is going to hit the European market pretty soon. In order to create brain training game, we need very small number of the team member, and they spend very short time period in order to complete this greatly successful video game software. So, by introducing such unique hardware like the Nintendo DS with a unique interface, Nintendo is always trying to support those small team members with the great ideas all the time.
Well, okay, thank you very much indeed for your question. Let's go to Christian, who's in France. He wants to know, and here's a question we've had many times over, Mr. Miyamoto. When I grow up, I want to be a games designer. Okay, what education and qualifications do I need? And can you give me any tips on being a game designer?
When I was young, there was no such career as game designer, game creator, game director, game producer at all, because there weren't any video games at all. So what worked well for my career as the video game designer is, I think I was studying some aspects of arts myself seriously. And now, that if I could advise anything for the people who are willing to become the video game designers in the future, I think I should say you should be a kind of the professional in certain area for yourself. I really don't know what kind of area it is, but I hope you can make something with your own hands. Try to experience as many things as possible. When I was a child, aside from the schoolwork, I recall that I was engaged in a lot of the activities as a child, such as playing rivers and doing baseball outside, and I was forming a musical band. I have done great many things. Those kind of extra experiences are actually helping me thinking about many great ideas as a game designer.
Let's just say that that was probably the most popular question that we had in the tens of thousands of questions that we've had today. Now, obviously, we cannot possibly this evening get through all of those questions, but we've tried to get as many in as we possibly can. Just a few minutes left and a few personal questions, if we may. Still in France, a question that's come in said, how do you feel to receive a French cultural award? That must be a great honour.
Ah.
You have it with you.
持ってきたんですけどね。はいはい。これですね。
That's great. How do you feel to receive that?
これ僕一人でも
I don't think that I have received it for myself, but for the past 20 years or more than 20 years or so, I've been working with a lot of my friends in order to create great games. So I have received this award as a representative of so many colleagues whom I have worked with for so many years. A total of 3 people, 3 game designers, receiving this specific award in Paris the other day. And we all agree that this was a great opportunity because the French government has kind of recognized the video games as a form of art and culture. So we are very, very honored to have received this great honor this time.
It is a great award and congratulations on it. From France to Belgium, Roger, who's in Belgium, hello and welcome to the show. What do you do in your spare time?
Well, whenever I have the spare time, I'm trying to spend my spare time with my family members, and plus I like playing or practicing the guitar for myself, or another unusual musical instrument called dobro guitar myself. And of course, that taking my dog to work is another important work for me all the time.
Where do you see gaming in the future going? Where do you think we're going to go? Which direction will gaming go into the future?
Yeah, after all that, nobody can tell what's going to happen within 10 years' time. After all, what we are doing is the entertainment business. We are not dealing with the daily necessity commodities at all. However, what I can tell you is technologies surrounding the computer, they are evolving very quickly so that there are so many applications available for the entertainment. Maybe in 10 years' time, what you are going to have as a PC is going to have quite different shape from the PC of today. And we have so many different gadgets, like we have the satellites orbiting around the Earth, emitting so many different waves, and we are going to have many other devices available, and in which maybe we do not need to carry around the disks or programs at all. Maybe there will be some other format to store some of the entertainment information at the storage, and there won't be any single one mechanism, but there are a number of different gadgets which may or may not be able to be connected with each other in order to form the whole new entertainment.
The future is certainly exciting. Thank you very much indeed for answering all your questions. We have had tens of thousands of questions. It's been a most amazing response. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Before we go, there have been 1 or 2 little cheeky questions that have come in as well, and I guess this is for you but not for me. It's from Barb in Holland. She just simply says, "Will you marry me?"
First of all, I really don't want to get divorced with my current wife.
Well, I guess that answers that question. Sorry, Barb, but the man is already taken. That's it from us. Thank you very much indeed for joining us in your tens of thousands for the show, and also for asking your questions as well. Now, obviously, we couldn't answer all of those questions, but thank you so much, sir, for coming in and for answering as many as you possibly could.
Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry I can't answer to all of questions.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed for some great English as well. It's been great to have you with us. I hope you'll join us next time on the show. Have a good evening.